Aloha. With this video, I wanted to follow up with the last video and also include some perspectives from the commenters, some of the latest commenters. Now that I'm talking about Owen Benjamin, and also some of the perspectives that are just like not really spoken of, that I've been referencing and mentioning a lot, that seems to be just kind of being missed because of many different reasons. But anyway, so what you're looking at now is just kind of like a basic starting point or blueprint of how I approach certain videos, just different kind of thoughts. This is just one of them. So in reference to the previous video where I don't know if I'm gonna finish it, but I have some information or an idea to edit together a Brian Cox video, but I've been because it's hard to even force myself to do that shit, because you have to sit through those sometimes hours of listening to like Brian Cox and Neil deGrasse Tyson and Joe Rogan just mumbling their banter over and over again, trying to find the right, just the right cut point and all that other stuff, timing and everything. So yeah, anyway, point being, when I was doing that and stopped, one of the main reoccurring themes was the overall need to deify these theories or the theorists. So like Einstein, he has been deified in Western society. Newton, Copernicus, Galileo, all the people that are beneficial to all of the biggest agendas out there have been deified, just as Western so-called society or civilization has been deified with the God Bless America, spreading freedom, truth, and justice around the world. Colonialism has been deified in order to hide the real intentions of those actions. So deifying theories is designed to hide the intentions, the objectives of the theory, the actions of the theories, and the intentions and the objectives of the people who created those theories, because those are two different things. The theories themselves, the information themselves, has an effect on us, has an intention and an objective behind it on us. Those intentions and objectives were created by people or beings or whatever you want to call it, a consciousness, some kind of intelligence that also has its own larger intentions and objectives. So just the theories have their own kind of like smaller versions of, affecting you a certain way, or intentions upon you, objectives upon you. And then there's a whole bunch of different ones, like little subcategory intention and objectives. Well, when you have the intelligence of the actual creators of these mind control programs, when you take them into account, or it into account, that's when you start to realize a larger kind of intention and objective. So the theories are one effect on us, and we do the rest of the work by defending the theories, emotionally attaching ourselves to this stuff. This is why it's so beneficial to get children involved in NASA and the space program and going to Mars. This is why they have a children's TV show on Netflix about going to Mars, like junior astronaut trainers training to go to Mars, all this shit. So it has to be sunken deep into your consciousness to maintain your own reincarnating of the sunken place. the sunken place universe. So you have a sunken place universe, and then you have a sunken place macroverse, then you have a sunken place microverse. So it's kind of like the soul, the mind, and the body. And these alchemists know exactly how to manipulate those macro storylines through micro movements without you even being aware of it. And YouTube is one of the ways that does that, because YouTube, or social media in general, takes into account all of the different versions of mind control and puts it in one. The same way kind of like movies take all of the mind control of books and like poetry and color and sound and information and emotion and history, and they take all that and put it into one. Nostalgia, like all this is put into one little capsule, like concentrated capsule of mind control. This is why social media and television, the mainstream media, is so effective. Hollywood is so effective on us right now. It's because it's the way the alchemy is being used. Whereas before, our involvement in society and the world wasn't really, it wasn't that, we didn't really care. We were so, dumbed down and stupid and unaware of, what's going on in this realm. This is why I focus so much on the lie itself in reference to flat earth, is because like when I bring up the like flat earth and people focusing on only on flattened globe, and I say look at the lie and the individuals, or the consciousness, the intelligence that created the lie, is to bring about a perspective of that macro, these larger storylines. And it's also to bring about the focus or the observation that the reason why heliocentrism was so successful is because, not because they made everybody lie, not because they made, such a great, they did such a great job in, CGI and maintaining the lie through mainstream media, movies, and so on and so forth. They didn't do a great job at that. It was us, the people, who did a piss poor job at going to the depths of truth and challenging ourselves to go to the depths of these mind control programs. It was the people. It was the people who didn't listen to the ancestors, who didn't piece together the macro storylines. It was the people who allowed ourselves to be subjected to concessions, like I explained in the Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights time frame was a good example of what has happened over and over and over again through generations to our ancestors. We just keep accepting the concessions of the system and never really hold the system accountable. So when we find something like flat earth, and this is emphasized by the so-called truth community that is it's the controlled opposition controlling the narrative. What they're controlling is your attention to being sucked into the midstream levels of consciousness. So the midstream levels of consciousness are the levels of consciousness that benefit the next mind control program, because we're in a transition phase right now. Once you start to realize that, in many different ways, but just an example of one transition phase. Once you start to realize that systems are dying, like macro systems are dying, because we were the only ones keeping them afloat. Once you're seeing they're dying, you're going to see that the system also wants to reincarnate or rebuild them, or repackage them, or make some other kind of mind control programs. So what's happening now is you have people, in order to sell that information, you can't sell it with the same program who sold you the mind controls in the first place. You have to sell it in a new package. You have to do something new. So we were being sold protection and God and all this other stuff under the guise of New World, progressive, aggressive, progressive, this colonial mindset that was based upon conquering, destroying the indigenous consciousness, our ancestral consciousness, the post or pre-Columbian consciousness. And now we're sucked into this post-Columbian colonial consciousness that makes its money by ignoring the information of the pre-Columbian peoples, pre-Columbian civilizations, pre-Columbian storylines. The information or the narrative controllers are the ones who have to do that. See, and this is the thing, just like with heliocentrism, you have narrative controllers who are aware of their controlling ways and what they're doing. Then you have narrative controllers who are largely controlling the narrative subconsciously because innocently they don't know what the fuck is going on. They haven't done the internal work to know that they are actually setting people up for failure when they approach certain things for certain, you know, in certain ways. And this is a good time to transition into, for one moment, and I'll come back to this video I just watched yesterday. Riza Islam is a speaker. I don't know his real title in reference to the Nation of Islam, but he's a known speaker, at least on Instagram. He's gaining speed, seems to be gaining traction on YouTube now, but mostly on Instagram. He's known for piecing together, people who've seen these Subtle Infinity mixtapes that I've done. It features Riza Islam a fair amount because he seems to be on point with his information in many different ways. So when I saw him on Nick Cannon's, because I never watched any of Nick Cannon's interview, because you can see just in the look in his eyes right now, and the topics being, you know, the look in his eyes and the individual he has that look with, like who he's talking to, you know what he's going to be about. You don't even have to watch this video. You can see his face right now and know what's going on if you know what Riza Islam speaks on. So for people who are, you know, have some sort of intuition, you can see. You don't even have to watch that video. You know the kind of mind control he represents, because he only has a face like that. Like, the look in his eyes would only have a following if he had already had a push from the system. He had already been backed by the system. And the reason why the system backs people like Owen Benjamin and Nick Cannon and all the other celebrities out there is because they are masters in many different, and not like that's, I don't want to throw that word around, but you know, they're professionals at maintaining or controlling a self-implosive narrative, a self-destructive narrative. Nick Cannon is a good example of being completely unaware in many different ways of the depths of the storylines that affected his people and himself right now. And this comes to light in that interview, this video that you're watching, that you're seeing right now. It's ridiculous. And you can see in the bottom right corner, Owen Benjamin is just, you know, the representative for people who will relate to him more. But basically they're saying they're in the same kind of categories of, you know, what the hell is going on. So they represent a stream of consciousness for people who are, you know, who have that same look in their eyes about what's going on here. They're not really serious about what's going on, not because they're not serious about it. They're not serious largely because they don't have the information or the wherewithal to be serious. Like, this is with like the flat versus globe people. you know, something, realizing that heliocentrism was a farce, and that you know, all these lies that come with that, people think they've got it. They think they've, you know, discovered the world in some kind of way, or they've discovered whatever it is, and they think that's it. So there's no more work to do. But that's the thing. This is the thing that I've been talking about with the flat earth in general. Once you control the narrative, you can control the consciousness. And that's the main point with this. I don't have to go any further with that. This Nick Cannon thing, you already know about that. But this is a very interesting video to watch. It's kind of painful to get through. For not painful, but you know, it's kind of exaggerating it. But you know what I mean by that. But what's more interesting is the comment section on this video, which you can check out on your own, where basically they're just telling people, they're just breaking Nick Cannon down. You'll see all the top comments are you know, pretty smart people who are just basically like, this dude is lost. He is completely lost. He didn't even give, you know, Rizza Islam time to speak. He just wanted to. So that's what people like Nick Cannon are designed to do. So Owen Benjamin, he has all these people, like he created a community. He calls his cult following like bears. He's a bear. His information stream is based upon the same information that, you know, comes from Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, you know, even TYT and the mainstream media as a whole. He's just another complex version of just like a mainstream flat earther. He's the same thing. He's just a mainstream so-called truther. So in this truth that is being said, you know, shared to people, you know, what this is what I'm saying. What is your intention? So what is the intention of Owen Benjamin? See, this is the thing that I have, you know, and it's the sliver of respect, but it's a sliver because it doesn't really exist. Because I know that sliver of respect only exists, or that information or that intention in Owen Benjamin and Alex Jones, when I reference what I'm getting ready to reference right now, that only exists to maintain the control over the people. So let me explain that before I get there. Owen Benjamin and Alex Jones very clearly define their intentions and objectives to some degree. That some degree is worlds more tangible than so-called truthers and obvious in the flat earth community, because they're mainly focused on that. There is no intention or objective in the flat earth community. And this is a question, or a question I want to pose to each channel, both on a micro scale and a macro scale, on an individual scale and on a larger scale, collective scale. What are your intentions and objectives with the information you share? So this goes for all the channels, every single channel. And it's not a challenge to make a video. I'm just really just questioning. You can choose to not, you know, take this question or challenge or leave it. It doesn't matter. Who the fuck am I, you know, to ask anything? But if you listen to these videos, because I know there are people who listen to these videos who have followings and who don't even have followings. They don't say a fucking word. They never mention me. Never mention the shit that I've said on here. Never mention any kind of the intentions or objectives that I, you know, mention on here. Sometimes because it's threatening to them. Sometimes because maybe they just don't agree with it. And sometimes they just don't know how to handle it. Whatever it is, I don't give a shit. I just know that there's some people secretly watching these videos and then regurgitating a lot of this information, but yet they don't want to acknowledge the fact that, you know, where this information is coming from. And that's fucked up. And I know that shit's happening. So you have truthers who are out there, intentions and objectives on a micro scale and a macro scale. What are your intentions with this work? What are your objectives with this work? And this is why this is a fair question to ask, because the system that is putting people out there to control the narrative are controlling the narrative by putting people out there who do not express their intentions or objectives. And the other side of people that are put out there are people who very definitely, very like grandiosely, they extremely express their intentions and objectives to some degree. This is your Alex Joneses with his 1776, freedom and just or whatever will commence again. You know the Western so-called civilization. You know their objectives and their intentions. Their objectives and intentions are to protect their investments, to protect their empire, what the system has generated so far. So they will use people like Alex Jones, Brian Cox, Joe Rogan, Owen Benjamin, Nick Cannon, Will Smith, Jack Black, the Bernie Sanders, Killer Mike. The list goes on and on and on and on. These individuals are all maintaining the system. Now, what I'm saying is that, and this is the other side that people are avoiding and you know, running away from. The other side of that, that's equally influential, are the truthers who claim to be separate from those groups of people and those intentions in those groups of people, but actually do the same thing, because instead of having intentions and objectives, they go to the extremes of having zero intentions and zero objectives. And they slide through that because the information that they share has the scent, has the appearance of intentions and objectives. Flat Earth information has the appearance of having an intention, has the appearance of having an objective. You can make hundreds of videos, hours and hours of content talking about information, but where are your intentions? Where are your objectives? So when I watch, just last night, just a little clip of Owen Benjamin, his intentions were clear as day, the same as Alex Jones. He states them out, and you can go into the depths on your own. Build a fence, raise chickens, and talk about the New World Order. Just talk about it, get angry about it, emotionally, you know, fear in some way, because he's a prepper, and that's his main job, is to express fear and hopelessness through the guise of hopefulness, you know, and protecting, and you know, and then read the Bible. These are his words, by the way, not me putting together stuff. This in his stream of intentions, like in that moment of, you know, what am I really talking about here? He says, build a fence, meaning be fearful, take care of yourself, move on, don't give a fuck about the world that predates the land, or the information that you're talking about now, the fence that you're trying to build. And this is a really good metaphor for this entire discussion. He's building a fence around his material property on stolen land. He is a manifestation of the very problem in which, you know, I reference many times on this channel over and over and over again. Part of my intentions and objectives is to bring that stuff to light so we can deal with it, so we can handle it, and so we can acknowledge that there are individuals out there who are existing to hide that consciousness, to hide the fact that that's existing. So how they hide it is hiding it behind the extremes of making it seem like they give a fuck about you, or they're for you, or they're real, or they're genuine, or whatever like that. So they tell you, yeah, build a fence on stolen land. Protect your material investment on stolen land. Don't go to the depths of realizing what's going on. just stay safe. Raise chickens, same thing. That's another version of building a fence. Once you build a fence, then you raise chickens. Then now you're, protecting. And now, so there's your food. So there's your security with build a fence. There's your food, and he's starting to raise chickens. Also means build raised garden beds, or raised garden beds. So that's the same thing. So food, water, shelter, security, whatever. That he's doing it in his own way. So it's kind of like an underhanded. It's pretty complex to get into, but it boils down to the ways we think, like how our mind works, how our subconscious works. That's why I said it's very important to realize, like, the scent of truth. The scent of truth is not truth. The scent of truth is only a fucking little crumb of it. And these individuals are designed, they're pumping out, they're like Trutherism, or truth, like smell-o-vision. You can smell the TV or something. This is like like internet, like what is that? Whatever they would call, what I was talking about, smell-o-vision, in reference to the internet and truther, like Trutherism or whatever it is, like that. It's only a fraction. It's just a little cloud of truth. So build a fence, raise chickens, talk about the New World Order. Don't do anything. And I'm not saying like do anything like charge the White House and do all this. It might come to that at some point in time, but what I'm talking about right now is gathering our information, gathering, what's going on, and find out the best moves that we can make. Not just respond. Don't respond emotionally. That's what the system wants you to do. Get your fucking shit together and start figuring out the intentions and objectives of the larger storylines. Stop just like bantering about the New World Order and all this other stuff, like as if it's just, like chemtrails or something. It's kind of like how chemtrails, this is what's happening in the community, and why truther community, and why the information loses, like why there are no intentions or objectives, is because like this information, there's nothing behind it. Just like flat versus globe, there's nothing behind that. There's nothing behind the information there. It's just stuff. A whole collection of stuff that smells a certain way. So, the New World Order, which is not a new world order. This is why people like Owen, Benjamin are out there to make you think that it's new. It's not new. The reason why they called it a new world order is to like emphasize its power, like create, like build these are the trailer commercial, these truther videos and all this other stuff are the trailers to the new world order itself. It's kind of like the same mechanism that George Bush did when he said, we're gonna put together a new world order, and when we're successful, and we will be, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm talking about when I say that, because that's what he says, as he says verbatim when he's talking about the New World Order. They're implanting that shit into your reality. It's kind of like a bluff. It's like a bluff. It's a bluff with stuff, like something else attached to it. There's a little more weight to it than just a regular bluff. It's a bluff with a like, hey, we're gonna do this, and we don't give a fuck about what you say. And if you say anything, no, we're gonna fuck you up. You're like, they're punking you in a way. When he says, we'll be successful, and we will be. That's a control. That's the leader of the free world installing a control program into your reality. And then 30 years later, what happens? They just install it because you're just like, yes, we will be going along with the successful New World Order. It's the only thing we should do. It's the most innovative thing in our human consciousness. Follow the herd, follow the bears, follow InfoWars, follow. You know, everything is about following. Nobody fucking thinks for themselves. And I'll get to that in a second with this next comment section. But I want to finish this thing first. So one of the main thing that's going on in reference to so-called truther communities is, and this is why a lot of the so-called truthers do not have intentions and objectives, is because once they start getting into questioning or bringing light to their own questions or their intentions and objectives, they will start getting into the storylines that predate the post-Columbian, like New World Order distraction shit. And then we'll get into the storylines of who and what they are, like as a people in this whole realm. Not like, you know, back and forth bad guys versus the good guys shit. That's a checker game distraction bullshit. It's very simple. That's for the bears. That's for the Owen Benjamin people who need their food pre-chewed for them. Like this is the side effect to this codependent, self-destructive society that has been emphasized for so long, is that people, even now when you get into a so-called truther community, now the information that you get, you can't even research yourself. This is a side effect to the internet and the public education system. Everybody needs everything pre-chewed for them. They need like a baby bird, like chew it up and like spit it up down the throat, and then, oh, I got it, I feel a certain way. But you don't know what that tastes like. You don't know the flavor. That shit has been coated in somebody else's saliva and somebody else's stomach acids, and that shit has been fucking forced down your throat. And you think you have truth now because your stomach is full, but your stomach is full of somebody else's fucking vomit. It's vomit because they have nothing behind it. There's no, it's not meant for you. It didn't come from you. See, the information that I share, my intentions with the information that I share is to make people think. So the information that I share doesn't have my personal attachments to it, like I'm getting something from it. No, the attachments come from the way you think about this information and grow from that information by thinking for yourself. See, people like Owen Benjamin who want to tell you what to do, like tell you this is what you need to do. They're telling you that so you can have that mentality of just move on. Let's just move on. And that's the mentality of, you know, like it's no different than science wants to innovate constantly. Move on. Don't talk about, you know, what predates this post-Columbian empire. Move on. Start from where this is what it is. Gain, like, take the best parts of this world that have been, or this empire that have only come to be as a result of inhumane actions. Take this land, take this constitution, take this Whole Foods, take the malls, take the amusement parks, take the movie theaters, take the public schools, and make them better. You know, take them over. You know, take them away. At best, take them away from the New World controllers, like But this is the thing. The system, that intention is designed to make you not think anymore, to not think for yourself. That information stream is laced with the stomach acids of this post-Columbian consciousness. And that stomach acid will eat away at your reality because you have all the minerals are gone, there's no nutrients in that food anymore. It's basically fast food now. This is what the truther community, Owen Benjamin, the mainstream media, everybody's just regurgitating that stomach acid shit and not making you think for yourself. That's what that is. It's the acid that's eating away. It's like truth acid. Food that's laced with, it's like a sugar, like I said in a video a while ago. It's like in order to make you swallow down the poison they have to coat that poison pill in 10 years or 10 layers of truthful tasting candy coated bullshit. And then 10 years later, you've been licking on truth. You've been, eating that Owen Benjamin Tic Tac, or that, sucking on that Alex Jones Tic Tac for 10 years now, and you think it's truth. And then the intention of that was to, have you sucking on that truth for so long, so that you suck yourself into the poison 5-10 years later, or months later, whatever it is. That's usually how it is. They sell you information or candy coated something to control the narrative based upon, so candy coated stuff has like a time release on it. So some candy coated poisons are time released to affect you a week from now, because there's a false flag coming up a week from now, or a month from now because there's a political thing happening a month from now, or a year from now because there's an inventive, like a technology thing happening now. This is how Hollywood, the mainstream media, politics, and all this post-Columbian colonial mindset is all one storyline. It's because ultimately you're eating like low dosages of poison overall over your lifetime that's coated in this idea of truth, but it's not. It's like genetically modified candy that tastes like, it's just labeled truth. That's what Owen Benjamin is. He's like a Snickers bar called truth, but that's a genetically modified bullshit ass candy bar, and it makes you seem like those commercials, Snickers commercials. It makes you think like you're full. Like that's their selling point. Snickers sells you that it makes you full. That's their selling point, and it sells you like it makes you not a bad person. So if you don't eat Snickers, you're a bad person. Like you're angry. Oh, you're angry? Have a Snickers, you fucking asshole. Jeez, what's the matter with you? Eat this shit. Literally, see how they like guilt you into eating shit? This is what Owen Benjamin represents. He's like a Snickers bar. He's guilting you into not, and if you don't agree with him, you're a shill, you're this, you're that, and all that other stuff. He's a fucking Snickers bar. Nothing more. And that Snickers food, those peanuts and that nougat and that chocolate and that caramel in that Snickers bar, this is what it is. The nougat is Build-A-Fence. The peanuts are Raised Chickens. The chocolate is Talk About the NWO. That's the chocolate covered coating. Everybody thinks it's, everybody can, knows what chocolate, everybody loves fucking chocolate. Wow, that's delicious. And then the caramel is like the Read the Bible. That's the Snickers bar of Owen Benjamin. And then people are like, I'm not an asshole anymore. I used to be a Joe Rogan asshole. Now I'm an Owen Benjamin bear. Thanks. Well, thanks, Owen Benjamin. Thanks, YouTube or whatever the fuck. Hopefully this has been recording without shitty audio, because the mic was facing downwards. Anyway, so Build-A-Fence, Raised Chickens, talk about the NWO, or Read the Bible. So what are, and let me be specific with this now. Flat Earth channels. If you listen to this, what are your intentions? So, the way you understand how I'm talking about Owen Benjamin, what is your Build-A-Fence? What is your Raised Chickens? What is your talk about the NWO? What is your Read the Bible? Some of them are going to be the same as this. But the point is to get people to start thinking and moving on this level, because once you start there, that's when you start opening yourself up to getting into taking more responsibility of this, and not just like regurgitating, like talk about the NWO. Like just talk about it. No. How does this fit in the human storyline? Don't just talk about heliocentrism. Don't just talk about the New World Order. Where did this shit originate? How do you know? What are we gonna do about it? See, people who aren't really interested in that. Sometimes they're not interested in it because subconsciously and even consciously they're trying to protect their investment, like I said in previous videos, or protect what's comfortable for them. So in order to do that, they'll even trick or lie to themselves, and like even little like happy lies, like, oh, I don't need to research that. We don't need to talk about racism. We don't need to research white supremacy. We don't need to go into that. That's divisiveness. The system does that. So if the system does it, I don't need to add my energy to it. That's that new age. I'm not going to focus my energy on that. No. It's not about focusing your energy on it. It's on burning that shit down so you can fucking acknowledge and take responsibility for it and handle that situation. This new age community bullshit reality of the consciousness is just about running away from what's going on and generating a new universe out of thin air. So they generate this Andromedan galaxy, Pleiadian consciousness, blue avian disclosure program, savior program to make people think like, oh yeah, this is I'm not even going to get into that right now. You know what I'm talking about. So yeah, the New Age communities, Sphere Being Alliance, and focus all your energy on extraterrestrials, that's their version of move on. Take the world that has been given to you by the slave masters, build on that innovative human evolution, and then just move on. That's it. Just move on. Don't go any further. If you go any further than that, you're gonna be doing the work of the what the controllers are doing. No, that's what shallow ass people looking from the outside in think. No, once you step your ass up in here, that's when you'll start to see something different. No, but they looking from the outside in, want to judge you from the outside in as if something's wrong with you. No, that's what's happening to this channel. This is why so-called truthers watch these videos and don't say a fucking word about the information on this channel. So in order, because, and not to say like, oh, this channel is something different. No, it's just to emphasize the point that there are not many channels out there that are going to the depths of like holding a lot of these fucking people accountable, not individually in reference to the person, in reference to the type of information, in reference to their intentions and their objectives. I don't give a fuck about the individual. This is not about the person or attack on the person. That's not the point. These individuals are just used as examples for the larger macro programming that they represent, the conditioning programming that they represent. But people who are still themselves caught up in approaching things personally and having those personal attachments and personal judgments and personal intentions and personal objectives, since they are always like that, when they see information or something like what I put out on this channel, then they get into like, oh well, you're just this. Nah, that ain't how it is. That's just how you are, and you see it that way. But if you were to get into researching what I'm talking about and taking more responsibility about what's going on here, then you'll see it ain't got nothing to do with these individuals. This is about what these individuals represent. What the fuck are their intentions and their objectives? So in order to distract from our truth and emphasize the attention on the truth that benefits the system, the individuals only share certain truths, like move on truth of build a fence, raise chickens, talk about the NWO, and read the Bible. So they got the soul, the mind, and the body locked right up. Build your, raise your own chickens and build your own gardens. So and psychologically they're thinking of start don't be subjected to the education system anymore. So that's the soul, that's the psychology. Read the Bible, that's the soul part. Raise chickens, build a fence, that's the body. They got you locked down. That's their intentions. That's where they want you to channel your information. That's it. Flat Earth just does that from the other side. They do that, or generally speaking, like the objectives of people overall, not just flat earthers, even the black conscious community, other New Age communities, and whatever, all these communities who don't share intentions or objectives, they mean and act the same way. They have the same effect on people by emphasizing the attention on something else. This something else is just move on. Like when you watch Brian Cox and Joe Rogan and Neil deGrasse Tyson, when Neil deGrasse Tyson said, and his words were perfect for this example, Christopher Columbus coming to the so-called New World or the United States was the most significant thing to happen in our species. These are his words. So that is the intention and the objective of that system. He is a mouthpiece for that system. So his intentions and objectives are to make you worship the way the world is and the way the system is. No different than the major league sports teams are designed to do the same thing. This is why they have, as I said in the last video, they have the veterans and the national anthem and all this other stuff at sports and Super Bowl stuff, dealing with politics and Beyonce, the Black Panthers and all that stuff. This is why they intertwine all of them. Because they want to emphasize the attention on glorifying the system and moving on. Don't look in the past. So what happens is the past gets demonized, the moment gets controlled and distracted from, and the future gets generated. So this is the other side of the intention and objectives. For the people who have intentions and objectives, this is what they're really dealing with. They're dealing with time, because they're acknowledging time and taking the responsibility for time. So an example of this on the Owen Benjamin Alex Jones thing is their version of the past is 1776, or like the move on mentality. Start at post-Columbian shit and then move on. This is great. Take what we have. Don't talk about the stories of what happened to the people, the land, and so on and so forth. Don't talk about that. Just move on. It's not worth it. You know, that's what the system is trying to do to make you, whatever. So that's what they do to control, or it does, and individuals even do this, to control the narrative of the past. And this is time control now. To control the narrative of the present, this is the mainstream media, these individuals like Owen Benjamin, Alex Jones, they personify the information that you're supposed to focus on. With individuals, with networks, with cults, with followings, with storylines, with false flags, with war, with institutionalized racism, with institutionalized, like the prison industrial complex and the military industrial complex. This is all stuff, narratives. This is all information to control the narrative of the present moment, the present time. And since you are bombarded with all that shit, you don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. So you just do what you can while you're in that gauntlet of shit. So you don't have the time, if you're in that space. If you're consumed by that consciousness, you haven't challenged yourself to break out of that consciousness, then you'll spend the most of your time regurgitating that information and defending people who defend that stream of consciousness. So these are your bears defending Owen Benjamin. So then you have the other stream of consciousness on that move on mentality controlling the narrative, is like selling you space, selling you another version is selling you truthers, selling you the flat earth to some degree, to a flat versus globe degree, selling you truth to a 1776 degree, selling you the New World Order to the Illuminati degree, to the Beyonce, the Jay-Z's, the Ellens, the baseline shit. They're not going to the depths of it. So that's how they control the future. So this is how time is controlled through your past, your present, and your future. Once the system or whatever it is controls the time, whether it's an individual or a system or a group, whatever it is, because it works for all of them. Once your time is controlled, then your information can be controlled even further, because like I said, you're caught in a ball of confusion. In that ball of confusion, you're not even aware of the information to the depths. You're just trying to, not get consumed by the information. But in that trying to not be consumed by the information, you have a little sliver. You get hit. You get these little like shrapnel pieces of that garbage. And before you know it, your entire body is encased in garbage shrapnel. Your body becomes shrapnel. You become that damaged like soldier for your own enslavement. And each move that you make is painful. Each move, people who actually have shrapnel in their body know what I'm talking about. Just one piece. Just now imagine your entire body encapsulated in shrapnel. This is what's happening in consciousness. We have this shrapnel in our bodies, and we've built up coping mechanisms to this shit. And then on the extreme levels, we start defending this shrapnel. So this is a good thing to end on. This is on the latest Owen Benjamin video. So these are these bears. Even if it's not the bears coming to defend the honor of Owen Benjamin, the lackeys, it could just be, government people trying to, whatever. But mostly it's probably just some fucking man-children ass people out there. So you can read this for yourself and see what we're having to deal with. So this is the point, like, that's made even on television. Black power, to use those words, like I don't use that. So-called black power does not mean white hatred. So this is one of the main problems going on right now when I talk about people who are trying to, empower themselves by researching who and what they are. We're not even allowed to research or even talk about who the fuck we are. Because if we start researching our ancestors, our history, our connections, our power, that inherently is threatening to the people who are empowered by the system who destroyed our people and our ancestors. So when we empower ourselves, we are empowering a system that disempowers this broken system that exists inside the people in many different ways. So in order to defend that system that largely that they think that they're not a part of, they attack you. They think you're attacking them. That's what the fuck is going on right now. And people like Owen Benjamin are out there to maintain that reality. They want that, whether he knows it or not, the system behind him knows that that is going to be the side effect. That's going to be the outcome in what's happening right here. So they will continue to pump Owen Benjamins into the mainstream consciousness to evolve the idea of being aware of what's really going on. But that idea is only being evolved up to a degree of conscious enslavement. Conscious enslavement. This is what build a fence, raise chickens, talk about the New World Order, and read the Bible is. Conscious enslavement. And that's a that's a stretch to even use those words, conscious, that word, because build a fence, raise chickens, talk about the NWO, and read the Bible is not really being conscious. That's actually like counterintuitive in many degrees. Not build gardens, that, but yeah, obviously, like if your entire spiritual nature is based upon reading the Bible, that's it. To each his own, but from my perspective, that's a fucking enslavement program. if all your entire spiritual reality, your entire spiritual relationship with this realm, with yourself, with the Most High, is based upon regurgitating or just reading the Bible, in my opinion, that's a candy-coated poison. So, and what happens is that people lick that candy coating until they die, and they don't realize that the poison comes, right before they're, dead, possibly after they're dead. We don't know how the Bible affects us when we move on. At the extremes, it could be like a really fucked up, like, cannot compute sort of thing. When we get on the other side, we'll go and do whatever we're doing. We get to wherever we're going, and then we start regurgitating like, well, Psalms this or John 3, and we start try to like, well, in this part of the Bible it says, and then the individuals or whatever consciousness is there looking at you. All right, go ahead, say what was you saying? That book said what? How did it go? Okay, well, what do you like? How does that exist in your soul? What does the soul of your Bible, how does the soul of your Bible interpret that without somebody else having to pre-chew that relationship to the spirit, the soul, the Most High, whatever you want to call it? What does your soul have to say about that pre-chewed information? Like, or how does your soul express the information within that pre-chewed, Bible stuff? So, so in order to make themselves feel like they are on the same level or information stream as you, they have to make it seem like you're missing some kind of point. So these are, or you don't have, you're not on the same level as them. This happens individually and in big ass cults. So like insecure New Agers do this too. This is a good example of what's happening, what I'm explaining now, on a personal level. On a personal level, let's just say two like enlightened to some degree individuals come to meet each other. One of them is like has barreled through a lot of this shit, and then barreled through communities like the New Age community, and they don't have to regurgitate shit anymore. Everything is kind of active and live right now. And then you have another person who's a New Ager who is just kind of like, I just use this as an example because you don't have to be a New Ager. So-called truthers do this too. Flat earthers do this too. Regurgitating information, just one note, one information nugget after another. They just keep feeding you these nuggets of information in order to not really expand the consciousness, but really to control the narrative, to control the interaction. Why? Because largely the information who are basing their world and what they say in their interactions on nuggets of shit, that comes from being insecure. They're insecure because it's not coming from them. It's coming from an external source. It's not coming from their own experience. It's coming from their own vomit that they're regurgitating. So they're regurgitating pre-chewed vomit. So it's not really being metabolized. Is that a word for it? Yeah, metabolized in the system and turned into their, like, the food that they've ingested has not been digested and then turned into intelligent energy. It's just sitting in their stomach. So this pre-chewed baby food or bear food is just sitting in these people's stomach, and people are getting fat off of this pre-chewed, acid-filled information. And they think because they're truthful fat asses now, they think that they're just weighed down by another kind of density now. They don't really have it's not turned in, like I said, to intelligent energy. They can just spit vomit on you like like that dinosaur they show on Jurassic Park that spits that shit on you. That's what's happening. So back to the point. Insecure people. Once you get into an insecure consciousness that's based upon looking secure, like the New Age community, you have one of the deepest layers of insecurity that could ever exist. And that's what happens. People who are insecure in that space, who are in the same space of people who are secure with their information, who are not, just regurgitating stuff, who like people eat the Bible and it sits in their stomach forever. And they die with the Bible sitting in their stomach. They can never regurgitate it, but they can stick their hand down their mouth and in their esophagus into their stomach and stick their arm all the way down there and flip the pages of that book and start reading it, and then pull out one page, rip a page out of their throat, out of their stomach, and then like shove it down your fucking throat. And then now it's in your stomach. Now you gotta fucking either do something. You gotta do something with that now. But people will live and die with that Bible in their stomach, and it will never digest. It's not meant to be digested. It's meant to be pulled from. So, oh, that's what it was. Individuals. Okay, so security and insecurity. So the insecurity people who are around people who are secure in their information, and this also happens with people who are secure in the space of I don't know. Like when I don't know is a very secure space. Like for me, like I have a space, like I have a space of like spirit, to where there's spirit, like the soul. There's a reference. There's connections and all that. Into the Most High. Like these are like the three solid things for me in reference to like that what's going on in this realm. So that is very threatening. It challenges the security to people who are based upon whose information is based upon regurgitating like extraterrestrial sort of spiritual practices or spiritual knowledge, and people who regurgitate mainstream religious or biblical spiritual knowledge. It's not to say any of that stuff doesn't have any merit or doesn't mean anything or doesn't help people. It's just to say that there's something more than that. And when you say I don't know, that's threatening. That's actually threatening to people who are like always about the Bible or always about 1776. They're Bible thumper, or they know it. They know what the fuck is going on. They have something tangible to know. And then by you not having anything tangible to know, and then you being humble in this reality, saying I don't know, to whatever degree, even to that degree, to say I don't know is challenging. It's threatening to people who are secure in their knowingness. People who are regurgitating the Bible and regurgitating New Age shit and regurgitating whatever they have been comfortable with for so long, whatever they filled their bellies with for so long, they become insecure when they're even around other people who have another kind of thought process. So in order to hide that insecurity, what they do is they project that insecurity onto you, and then they say, because you don't know, something's wrong with you. You are just another product of the system, or whatever it is. So whatever it is that they're insecure with, they'll come up with a slew of projections onto you to hide their own insecurities. And that's what's happening with like this comment section, and that's what happens individually. And then they'll go to the extremes of even saying like I'm just on a higher level than you. This happens in the New Age community. I'm just on a higher level than you, and you just don't comprehend what I'm saying right now. So this is what's happening in this comment right now. People are saying, what are they saying? You do realize conquer and war is not a white problem. Well, that's not what I'm saying on here. I'm also not saying that the term white or white supremacy, I'm not saying that is not involved in the situation. This individual is, though. This is the fucking problem. And this is the problem with so-called truthers. this is what's happening in the so-called flat earth community. See, I'm not saying white people are the problem. I'm not that simple. I know that it's more complex than that. But insecure people, in order to attack me, they have to make it seem like that's what I'm saying. No, that's not what's being said. That's just what you have projected onto me to comprehend what's being said, or to kind of comprehend what's being said to your degree. It's not what's being said, though. It's more complex than that. So the insecure people have to project that insecurity onto you. So the system does that when they laugh at, people or the flat earthers, or censor flat earth information on YouTube. Oh, people think of the flat earth. Oh, they're laughing because they're insecure. I used to know people who would a while ago, like when I was like 20 something years old, early 20s. There was a woman I was talking to who she would like giggle on like serious topics, or she would laugh like the things, because, and that was like a insecurity thing. Like she couldn't handle serious topics. She was like funny all the time. Like comedians do this a lot. This was a side effect to people who default to comedy a lot. They can't really go to the depths of certain topics because they just figure out their minds are designed to turn everything to comedy, or to turn everything into something tangible real quick, so they don't have to deal with it. This is and New Age. This is why the New Age communities and truther communities are out there. They are out there to catch people in that vulnerable state of insecurity and provide them with an entire universe of stability and trap them. So it's like taking the stomach and ripping it out of their stomach, or ripping it out of their body, and encapsulating their entire reality within that stomach. So now their reality becomes their own prison cell. They've turned their inside outside, and now they think that their insides are based upon the outside. And now anybody who attacks their or seemingly or shares information seemingly attacks their outside, they think it's attacking their inside. This is what these comments are. This individual, this is not a white problem, no shit. And then they get prideful in their information, and then they this is what Owen Benjamin is representing. He represents the pride of half truth. And then these little bear cubs get out there and then start regurgitating half-truth against the people who are sharing deeper truths. This is why I said these are soldiers for the system. Joe Rogan is a soldier. He is a big piece on the board. Owen Benjamin is a big piece on the board. And these little bear cubs, for Owen Benjamin, they're the pawns for another chess game for your soul, your mind, and your body. All these pieces on the board. And these little lackeys, these little fucking little bear cubs who go around, putting comments on videos as if they know what the fuck is going on, are also a part of controlling the narrative, because they're going to get people who are going to, hit the like button and all that other stuff, and just maintain the insecurity consciousness within the truther communities and the mainstream communities. So yeah, that's basically it. So to close it out, this goes in part with the intention and objective in reference stuff with Owen Benjamin and InfoWars, Alex Jones, with the pride and all that stuff too. So this ties into the pride thing. So now that Owen Benjamin has now put his intentions and objectives out there, now see, and then like these individuals, they're new to the game, and Owen Benjamin, he seems new to the game because he's new on the scene. So people think that this shit is new because he's new and they're new to him being new. Like, no, this shit ain't new. So when they see me talking about stuff, they think I'm new. No, motherfucker, this shit been around for a while. And then people before me, and I'm talking about people that are sharing information from people who was coming way before me. This shit ain't new. You are new. You need work. You have work to do. But that's part of the controlling of the narrative, to maintain the newness, the new scent, the new feel. Like, this is new, in order to maintain the narrative. So and I'll close it out on this. That pride comes from intentions and objectives. Owen Benjamin's intentions and objectives are circling around the move on mentality. Don't talk about, what happened, how this empire came to be. Get angry, get emotional, be hopeless to some degree, be helpless to some degree, and then just deal with what you got in the situation now. Shut down, take care of yourself, build a fence, raise chickens, read the Bible, and what did he say? Talk about the NWO. That's it. That's a main one. It's a big one too. Just talk about the NWO. So that's credibility. Credibility is talk about the NWO. Spirituality, read the Bible. Raise chickens, have food, take care of yourself. And then build a fence, protect yourself. Security, food, clothing, shelter, security. That's what these individuals represent. And like I said in the previous video, Owen Benjamin represents the more human perspective. You think it's a coincidence that they deplatformed Alex Jones, and then all of a sudden Owen Benjamin comes, out of nowhere saying the same shit as Alex Jones, just from a more so-called personal perspective? Alex Jones was the pre-game show to the Owen Benjamin consciousness. He's the pre-game show. He was there to set the tone for what Owen Benjamin was to talk about, to gain his credibility. That's what Alex Jones was there for. He was chapter 1. Owen Benjamin is chapter 2. Will Smith and all these other people are going to be chapter 3. Watch. They already making the YouTube channel, Jack Black and all these people. They're going to be chapter 3. All of them working for the same people or the same system. Whether they know it or not, or whatever it is, whether you think they're real or not is of no matter. It's what they're actually doing. What are their actions representing? Their actions are representing protecting that system, protecting that consciousness, maintaining the perspectives of intentions and objectives that are based upon maintaining your enslavement. So on that note, I'll leave it there. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for the support. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.